Hello there, fearfully and wonderfully made soul. Today on the Holistic Counselor podcast, I have the pleasure of welcoming two extraordinary sisters who are revolutionizing the world of holistic wellness. Meet Diana and Ornela from 5 Elements Wellness Spa, a dynamic duo with an impressive background in the mental health industry. With Diana's LPC credential and Ornela's degree in counseling psychology, their expertise covers both the clinical and emotional dimensions of well-being. After a successful decade of owning and operating a home health and hospice agency in Philadelphia, these sisters decided to embark on a new journey focused on preventative care. Their transition was marked by passion and dedication as they sold their previous business to pursue their vision of holistic wellness. Combining their love for beauty and wellness, Diana and Ornela have created a unique venture that emphasizes both internal and external well-being. Their spa, nestled in the heart of South Florida, Deerfield Beach to be exact, aims to set a new standard by integrating mental and emotional health with traditional beauty practices. I had the pleasure of discovering Diana and Ornela's spa myself, drawn in by its intriguing construction and innovative services. As someone who values mental health and wellness, I found solace in their wellness room, complete with amenities like a steam room, sauna, hot tub, cold plunge, and red light therapy. Speaking from personal experience, I understand the transformative power of biohacking for mental health. In fact, I chronicled my journey in a blog post titled Integrating Biohacking for Mental Health, inspired by my experiences at their spa. Diana and Ornela's commitment to creating a welcoming and inclusive space for holistic wellness is truly inspiring. So without further ado, let's dive into our conversation with these visionary sisters who are reshaping the landscape of self-care. Welcome to the show, Diana and Ornela.
Thank you so much for
you.
having us.
So
This
excited
is amazing.
So can you share just a little bit with the audience the inspiration behind transitioning from grief counseling? Like that right there, that gets me like, wow, because I get it. I'm still doing that as a therapist. Grief counseling and behavior analysis to opening up a spa focused on holistic healing?
Well, after we graduated with our degrees, we worked with a lot of behavioral therapy. Diana did. We did with kids, various different
Spectrum disorders,
yes.
but I worked with children, adolescents, and older adults. Somehow ended up transitioning from that into bereavement care and got my first taste of hospice and what that was like in the mental health field and working with families and doing grief counseling and bereavement counseling. And then in that business, I kind of learned with my sister like the things that weren't being addressed, the issues that weren't being taken seriously by the agencies and the different auxiliary
Like
facilities.
what?
Oh gosh, putting me on the spot. So they're solely focused on the individual, which is wonderful. But what about the families? Right? The families are going through grief. The families are going through all the stages, and nobody was addressing them. Or the social worker would maybe give them like a couple of sessions and
a couple pamphlets.
And
they don't
like,
really know how to take care of a bedbound patient.
Right.
They don't know what to do. A lot of times it would end up putting the patient in a nursing home because the family just wasn't equipped to take care of them. They didn't know what's available to them.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, this industry could be not always the best type of industry. People take advantage of these clients.
Yes.
They bill for the services, but they don't actually give the client what they need.
Yeah.
We come from a cultural background where you really take care of your elders. It's just in our families, always been as it should be for everybody.
And what culture is that?
We're Sephardic.
I love
Sephardic,
that.
Jewish, Baharian.
Yeah.
And it's big in our family. Like our grandma lived with us her whole life. So when we would see these patients, it was very...
And see all the needs that they had that weren't being addressed. I was like, Ornela, we can do this.
Eye opener.
Let's see where the gaps are and fill them.
Right.
And so that started the whole home health and hospice. We were called Helping Hand Home Health and Hospice.
I love that.
We were one of the largest at the time, right before the pandemic when we sold. But during the tenure there, we learned different ailments and how they, how you age, how you decline, and that younger people were getting diagnosed with terminal illness or some sort of other progressive diagnosis. So we were thinking about it from the preventative measures, like what can we do to help educate or help facilitate a little bit more of a preventative measure,
Right.
which is how the spa idea came out.
Yeah,
It really
because
was an organic
It was
decision.
crazy because obviously being in that industry is really heavy.
Yes.
It's rewarding when you have the
Clients.
right group
Right.
of people that are very
Caring and
caring.
compassionate.
We're big on education, so we bought a lot of equipment in home, like in our house, in the office. We had like a hospital bed to show home health aides how to change a bedbound patient sheets
Wow.
or chucks,
How to use a Hoyer lift.
how to use
how
a
to
Hoyer
do
lift,
a bed bath.
wheelchairs. You'd be surprised how many people don't know how to properly take a person out of a wheelchair.
It's about education and
So,
resources,
right.
right? It's like
So-
learning and
And unfortunately, we were in Philadelphia, and the demographic there is very low income, and most in the inner cities, and it was very unfortunate. Especially a lot of family members didn't really. Some didn't care, unfortunately, and some didn't have the finances to help or education to know what to do. So after we learned a lot, it was mostly also seeing different types of patients and being psych majors, our curiosity as to, well, how is this client stage 4 and we called it graduating from hospice because they weren't actively declining quick enough to be considered hospice, but obviously their cancer won't go away, but it's stabilized enough to not be declining rapidly to be for hospice. And we would graduate them into home health care.
Okay.
And where we would still have a nurse, still have a therapist, and whoever else comes to see them, where they still get their supplies. But we were always curious, like what was different here? And it wasn't the slew of medications. It wasn't how many meds they had to take to offset the symptoms of those meds and those meds.
Exactly.
It was hope.
It was
It
a
was
lot
hope that
of
kept them going.
100%. It was the fact that all of a sudden now they have somebody coming over. The nurses taking care of their medical needs, the home health aides taking care of their emotional and mental needs, and the desire to keep going made such a difference. You could even see with their wounds. Their wounds were healing faster because now they're eating and the protein helps your wounds,
or they're being fed, which some they were neglected otherwise. So that really played a role in us and how so
very
if all
holistic.
Very holistic.
It was crazy to see, honestly, and it was such a pattern. And after 10 years of reading charts and seeing these clients, we were like, wow, this is pretty wild when they say mind, body, and soul. It truly is a trifecta. And everything you do for yourself, mentally, physically, emotionally, affects how you age and how you will age. I always joke with my husband, he's always, if he gets sick and he's out for the day, as a mom, I tell myself, I don't have time for this. I can't be sick right now, even if I don't feel good. And guess what? Somehow I push through and I don't get sick. I really think it's a mental state that really controls how you are. And that is so important.
And you take care of your mind, but you also take care of your mitochondria. So, that's the mind. I get it. It is the mind, but because you understand how important it is to put the right things into your body. That's why you're pushing through too.
That was such a big, even with our own grandmother, she was 83 and initially she had maybe 12 different medications and she had a cancer of her blood.
Oh, wow.
So it was a lot of pain and stuff like that. And eventually my mother slowly weaned her off. We changed her diet.
What?
We started making her be more mobile.
Physically active. We got a PT in there. We got OT in there.
Yeah.
I mean, a really holistic
Taking
approach.
her out with us more often. Even if she
sunshine?
didn't want to, we made
she
her.
She came to Florida a couple times.
And to be honest, at 83, at the end, her only medication she was on was Advil, ibuprofen.
Wow.
And can that work for everybody? No. I am a strong believer in medications if properly used.
That's what I say all the time. Yeah.
And I'm not against it. And, seeing the children that we've seen, adults that we've seen, medications are beautiful and we're so grateful to have them.
Should be the last resort, not the first.
Exactly.
Or in combination with. Right? With the other holistic.
Integrative.
It's right.
That's what we were talking about with Dr. Dave, the acupuncturist. It's we need, that's why I'm I have him as an acupuncture. I have my chiropractor. I have my massage therapist. I have the wellness circuit, and even though it sounds like it's a lot of money, but you're going to pay either way. You're either going to pay for prevention or intervention.
What is more important than your own health?
I mean, to me, I will pay what, and prevent it from getting to the point where it's going to cost you more.
Right.
Doctor visits, co-pays, medications, these things are not cheap. A lot of times insurances don't cover a lot of these medications. We've had clients in home care and hospice that were diabetic. They couldn't afford their insulin.
I know.
I mean, it was insane because these medications are really expensive.
It
so you
is.
either do your best to prevent it and invest in yourself now
Right.
in a healthy way, then have to invest in yourself later in a, where you have no option and you have to do what you have to do.
Exactly. So, okay. So with the grief counseling and all that, I mean, what a shift now. Now,
Yeah.
all of a sudden, boom, I'm starting to see this building and I'm like all excited. I'm like, well, where did Royal Fiesta go? Because I've been to so
Called
many.
the Royal Gem now.
Yeah. I mean, the 5 element spot. And then I saw that big old goddess,
Green goddess
green
smoothie,
god, and I'm
yeah.
like, oh, that makes me all my girlfriends are like, that's really curious. And the next thing you know, I'm like waiting, and it finally happened, and I walked in, and I'm like,
It was a very
Tell
strenuous,
me.
long time coming. It took us almost 2 years to do the construction, with the city of Deerfield. We're not going to talk about that, but it's
It was just a lot of hoops.
process.
Yeah.
And we did it
in the midst of a pandemic too. Let's not forget that.
That's
It was,
right.
yeah, it was
and
not
we were
fun.
also moving from Philadelphia, building our homes
So we're
here in
flying back
Florida.
and forth.
We were coming back and forth from Philly every other week.
Okay.
We'd stay a week here, a week in Philadelphia, a week
Yeah.
here, just to
It meant a lot to us though, because I think, our mother is a Reiki master, so we've been around it our whole lives. My grandmother, she always tried to heal us with different herbs and stuff. And, being
Sounds like
young,
my
we didn't
grandma.
appreciate it then. And the older you get, you understand what you had.
Yes.
And, I think with our background and just everything, we said it started small, the idea, and then it just kept spiraling.
It's organically
And
just
we
growing.
found that building and we were like, wow, we could do a lot here. And it was mostly important of just bringing the community and awareness of what we've learned.
Okay.
We never say that we're experts on this or experts on that.
Right.
It's just in our experience of what we've seen, firsthand from our own patients. It's incredible, what you could really accomplish by putting in time for yourself,
Right.
and the right things to do. So that's kind of how 5 Elements came about.
5. Okay. And why 5 elements? Why that name?
We wanted to keep it healthy, organic, incorporate all the elements of nature as much as we can. Even on our logo, if you look, it's actually a tree, and each leaf is one of the 4 elements, and in the middle, it's actually the 5th element, which is the spirit.
Okay.
So we just think it's important to bring people back to nature.
I agree.
I think it's important to teach how we can incorporate more natural, holistic approaches for well-being. So I think that's kind of how we really thought of 5 elements. Hey, we want to incorporate everything. And that's even in our design. We have a lot of water elements, earth elements, the stone, the grass. We try to do
that salt room.
Yeah.
I could sit there all day long. I'm surprised you guys haven't kicked me out yet.
Never. We would never.
3 hours in, and I'm like, oh, I gotta I gotta get
people
back to
pass
reality.
out, they fall
People
asleep.
sleep there.
And,
I believe it.
and they're like, we have our 2 hours. You were going to enjoy this.
And we know to book those people when it's slow,
Yeah.
so they're uninterrupted.
Right.
And it's just it's such a beautiful compliment that you feel so
Yes.
safe that you can fall asleep.
It is. I feel super safe,
You
and that's
know?
hard for me being someone with complex PTSD.
Yeah.
So, for me to be there, it's just been, and it's just okay, we're going to talk about biohacking in the wellness room now. Okay, the wellness circuit, because I've gone to spas before, all, in Miami and Boca, West Palm, and other places, North Carolina. I never seen anything like what you created there. And honestly, I have to let the listener know that I was so anxious sitting there with my son, because you allowed my son to come too, because it is a co-ed wellness circuit. And he was curious as well, and he's never done a cold plunge. And I've heard so much biohack, that's a big deal. To me, people do it for physical, and I literally sat there almost crying, and he's just like, Mom, you can do it, you can do it. And when I first did the cold plunge, it helped with my anxiety and my depression
Absolutely.
to a point where I was just like, I can't believe I did it. And then it became so exciting, because that just went to show how fixed-minded I was at that point. And then right after that, I was able to go back into the ocean and go boogie boarding and all these things I used to do. It's the weirdest thing. After I did that cold plunge.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
amazing.
Awesome.
So tell me about that area and why that, like the way you did it?
Aside from it being a relaxing space because you want to get the amenities of the spa, and everybody has their own goals for what they come into experience. We wanted the wellness component, even if they don't understand that there's a wellness component associated with the steam for your respiratory, or with the sauna for your joints, or the cold plunge that releases endorphins. I mean, everything has a purpose in our spa, even if the client is not aware. I mean, we educate, we give them pamphlets and explain what each amenity does for you on a cellular level, on a physical level, on a mental health level. And so we designed it based on what we would have wanted to have in our spa, based on what we know works.
Right.
I mean, this is true science, right? This has been tried and true. You know that red light therapy helps people with MS, helps people who are dealing with, cancer and radiation. It alleviates pain. It's great for your skin and hair. The hot tub. I mean,
and it's not just a regular hot tub, it's a hydrogen therapy hot tub. So the point of that is it's not just we were very specific when we purchased it because each section is a circuit in the hot tub. And the reason for that is it has jets that go along your whole body, and they're aligned in different positions to help circulate your blood flow.
So it's great for edema. It's great.
Correct.
I mean, so there's just
so many benefits. Like people think that these things are just to relax, which they do. They make you relax.
Right.
But what's behind it as well? Like you're detoxing, reducing stress, reducing inflammation, anxiety. Like she said, with the cold plunge and endorphins, and it teaches you to breathe. It teaches you to take a second and just. It's all about the breathing. And I think that in itself is extremely therapeutic because I'm like you, where I'm like, I have my own, everybody has their own traumas, right? And to sit there, and I got up to 15 seconds, which I know to most people, they giggle when I say that, but I'm like, hey, all you need to do in that cold plunge is just dip. You don't even need to be in there for very long.
I was up to 4 minutes. What are you talking about?
That's beautiful.
My husband does 10, and for him, it's his meditation.
Technically, they say after 3 minutes, you're not gaining any more benefits.
Okay,
however, people do it for up to 10 minutes for their own.
Yes, it's mental.
Exactly.
It's a mental
they try to
situation.
test themselves to see where they can go. And when they achieve that goal, it takes over you. And you feel, wow, I could do that. I can do anything.
Exactly.
Nobody likes being cold.
No.
So, I mean, these things and just how we educate everybody, you have to go from hot to cold in these amenities. It's for a reason. So, I think all of those things we try to incorporate because we understand it's not just for relaxation. There's such a deeper meaning. So when people leave, they're not leaving just because they got relaxed. They left because they truly felt
better.
So good.
Right.
And that was the purpose of incorporating the amenities.
Yes. Okay. And I see that you have the sign up there where it's like, you tell the people specifically what to do, which I love. I love that because I had no idea. And then, you told me and my memory was like, but I do feel a lot better since joining the wellness circuit and stuff like that. And I'm going away, so I'll be back though, for sure. And that's because what I do for a living, like, as you guys know, I am a therapist, and I don't care if you're a first responder or anything. It's like, understand the importance of taking that time, even a mom, a stay-at-home mom, to go there and just, I love it. There's no distractions. Like, I don't bring my phone in there.
Yeah.
I mean,
We have signs, no phones.
Yeah.
Because it's about you, and it's about what you're trying to achieve.
And we truly preach that self-care is not a luxury, it's a necessity. That's like our mantra because we've seen it firsthand.
Yeah.
So we get it. Even for ourselves, we work there. We're there every day. And sometimes we don't stop and take the time to even do these things ourselves. And we started saying, hey, we need to practice what we preach.
Amen.
We need to get in there because
agree.
I'm working there and I don't have time to do it.
Right.
So I understand, but it's so important to take that time to give to yourself
and disconnect and just reconnect with yourself. And you know this.
When you do something positive for you and you put yourself first, especially as a mom, especially somebody who's working, we always tend to put ourselves last because we say we don't have time for ourselves. But we need to prioritize ourselves because nobody else will.
Exactly.
Like, you have to prioritize your health because it's number one. Yeah. If you're not right, how can you take care of everybody else?
Right. Exactly. I mean, it's that what we've all heard, the oxygen, like, if you put the oxygen on you first before you put it on the children, if the plane's going down. And, if you start focusing on what's going on in the world, the plane's going down.
It's been going down.
So it's like, it's not about the left wing or the right wing. It's just like, okay, understand your power that you have. And that's all you really do have, is understanding you and what your needs are and how are you going to make the difference in the world without, because you have a purpose. I feel every human being on this earth has a purpose.
100%.
Right? And understanding the holistic approach to things, especially to mental health, and having this is why I brought you on, because people need to hear that, like, the word spa automatically is like, I can't afford a spa.
Yeah.
You
we
know?
get that all the time. And then they look at our prices like, oh, that's not bad at all. Like, oh,
Yeah,
you get
it
an hour
includes all
massage
of
and
this?
amenities for $160. Oh,
Right.
okay, I can do that.
Yes.
You spend $200 on a meal every Friday. You know, if you put $165 away for the month, you can come and do a treatment
Right.
and get that self-care. And it's so important. I mean, I cannot stress enough how, even for myself, I had just recently a sound bowl healing. I've never tried that, but we had these two incredible providers that are like, we want to try this. It's supposed to like align your frequencies. And I'm like, I'll try anything. I'm open-minded. I want to see how it goes. I'm very spiritual. I can't say I'm very religious, but I'm certainly very spiritual. I'm like, let me try this. Diana, it's changed my life.
Wow.
I felt like a whole new person.
That's
All my
awesome.
anxieties, and he didn't do anything like physically to
Right.
me. Right? He had the sound bowls, and
The megahertz is around. The people
Yeah.
don't understand, like, we're
Yeah.
electrical
and
beings.
that really helped
100%.
me. I mean, aside from me like almost falling asleep, and I had to stay awake because I wanted to experience it.
Right.
But it put me in a state of relaxation that I've not tapped into before. And that to me was definitely altering.
It's a different type of therapy. I mean,
Right.
I think people have to find what works for them, different types of therapy. Sometimes people don't feel comfortable talking to others. Sometimes writing is a great way to
Or
get
art.
it down.
Right.
Art, exercise,
Yes.
But sometimes just coming
having
and
a person
disconnecting.
and take care of you.
Exactly.
It's all you need. And it's such a, like she said, like a spiritual connection that you just feel like, wow, like I didn't have that before. Nobody's done that for me before. Nobody's made me feel that safe and comfortable before with somebody you just met, So
Right.
that's the environment. We used to say, we will build it and they will come, because
Yes.
people are like, why would you do something you've never done? And we said, because we know that this is something that people are now more open to, more holistic approaches. But also I think that when you have a location that people can come and get educated, they'll come.
Yes.
And it's funny because the more we're open, we realize it's not about the clients that are coming. It's mostly the people that come that love what they do and are teaching us of what to teach the community as well.
Wow.
And that's going to be something that I want our building to be like a place for
And
that.
that's where I was going. I mean, that's one of my questions was like, what are your future goals and aspirations for expanding the holistic healing services at 5 Elements Wellness?
Yeah.
What is it like? Because I know I started seeing classes on Mondays, and you're teaching
Yeah.
the community. Tell me a little bit about that.
So we started doing Mindful Mondays, which once the second floor is done in a couple weeks, it's going to
Couple
be
weeks? No.
maybe
3 to 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Yeah, we
That's
hope.
still like
I
that's
keep
hope
saying
right
to
there.
myself, couple weeks is happening, it's happening. So the point of that is we're gonna have over 3,000 square feet of open space. And the
Wow.
point of that open space is to share that open space with others that are interested in the same things, people that are interested in teaching or educating, whether it's, we did the mindful member Mondays. And what we did is so people didn't feel like they had to purchase something. They had to come and pay for something,
Exactly.
but they're curious. They just wanted information before they make their decision. So we had like an acupuncturist come, our acupuncturist Clive, who's fantastic because
I met him at
he
the
studies
you guys
Chinese
opened.
medicine
Yeah.
and he's amazing. So he would come and he just sat for like 2 hours and just talked with those who showed up and they asked questions. We have one of our clients actually suffers from severe Lyme disease.
Oh gosh.
And that
Autoimmune. That's
it's
a
so
hard
bad.
one.
And he was asking all these questions and it like made my heart so happy that Clive was able to answer and say how this could help. And did you know you could do fire cupping? And what is fire cupping? And he just educated him and he felt comfortable enough to say, okay, maybe I'll come for a session. So then the next one we did like a Reiki. We did even a personal trainer who comes
good.
and she's willing to do like group sessions for like $10 a person.
You know what would
like,
be good? Do you have someone lined up to explain massage and the different kinds of massages,
Yes.
lymphatic and what? Oh,
our
cool.
actual lead massage therapist, Bridget, she is actually a teacher at the massage schools. She was, and then she came to us full time, but she loves to teach and she's amazing at it. And she's also clinically trained.
Okay.
So she could talk to anybody with any injuries that, are working on that. If they need to do more sports massage, more stretching, she knows muscles very very well. So she's going to be actually doing courses as well, because I was actually just talking to her about it, because I want to incorporate not just what massage is, but also for, women that are pregnant, how to be safe in their pregnancies, what to do, what not to do. Also, to bring in some of our home health background, we want to educate older clients that how to be safe within the home, how's the right way to bend, what not to do for your back, what's a dangerous way to put on your shoes. There's these things that we had to educate our clients back in home health, like how to not topple over,
Yeah.
So these things I think would be nice to share with the community of understanding safety for themselves, but also what could benefit them, what kind of massage will work for them, what they shouldn't do. Just things like that. Even amenities, we tell people certain things you have. If you're on certain medications, you can't do certain things.
Right. I saw your sign in the sauna.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, don't do drugs or alcohol while you're in there.
Well, yes.
That's
Well,
not the sign.
Like
I'm just saying.
If they have like a heart condition,
It's a
they can't
very-
do a cold
Yeah, we
plunge
take
and
the,
stuff like that.
medical. Absolutely, we take that very seriously. You have to go through, sign all the consents and make sure that you're clear to be able to use these, because it's not for everyone.
Right.
Now we are accessible. I don't know if we talked about that. If somebody is wheelchair bound and they need to get into any of the tubs, we do have a Hoyer lift that we can bring.
Really?
Yes, we do.
Wow. Do you
Yes.
hear that, people? Like, they thought of everything.
We thought of everything just because we know what was lacking in this industry. I think.
And you know what? I was just thinking, I wonder if Bridget would know how to do, because somatic healing is so important in grief.
We want to get in on that as well. I'm talking to a somatic healing person. She's actually out of Philadelphia, but she's willing to fly in every so often and do her little seminars. So we were talking about that.
Because to me, I try to, I'm an online therapist, right? But I try to teach them, like, okay, watch this video and do this, or here, let me show you, or because people like, especially when you're disassociating, right? When you have disassociation of any kind and you're trying to get back to the now, because whatever just triggered you, right? And so that's what I do, something called glimmers and triggers. Like, okay, what triggered you? And then the glimmer is when they actually take the tool and do it.
Oh, I like that. I like
We
that.
practice mindful exercises. I mean, we have
Yes.
mindful meditation guru. His name is Piero. He's actually a local
amazing.
Deerfield Beach resident. And
He's written 3 books.
What?
Like, he's
Energy.
How do I not
fantastic.
know him?
I'll introduce you. He's such a beautiful
He's going to
person.
do seminars.
like-
And by the way, all of the seminars that we're doing on the Mindful Mondays
Yes.
is complimentary. There is no fee. We'll have a
Really?
little coffee and tea and station.
Yeah,
like
just for
little-
education.
How do you sign up?
So once the second floor is done, we're going to actually have a calendar, and we're going to do days of actual just presentations that are free. Anybody can join just to learn. And then we'll have the actual seminars for sessions to sign up, group sessions.
Okay.
Sometimes people feel comfortable coming alone, but sometimes people want to bring a friend. You need a support or a significant other, or maybe it's something you just want to do with your mom and reconnect and have, whatever the reason may be, there's no right or wrong. It's just a way to kind of be open for everybody to see what fits for them. And to answer your question, so we basically want to implement everything that we can find that we think will help the community in any which way is what we want to put in the building, like a mecca for beauty and wellness, because it really does go hand in hand.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It's just, I'm trying to think, like, now my brain's thinking, because I love producing. And so I'm like, oh, what else can we get in there? Internal family system. Just the understanding of other things that go together with, especially the mind. You know what I mean? Because okay, let's talk about the mind-body connection, right?
Well, it's like CBT.
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
I was
Yes.
say CBD for a second. Sorry, wrong connection.
What are you thinking about?
Wrong connection, which I'm in favor of anyway.
She said
but-
CBT.
Like, cognitive behavioral therapy. Your mind, your thoughts affect your behaviors and your mood, and then your mood and your behaviors affect your thoughts.
Exactly.
It's a cycle. So what we want to do is bring you to the here and now. You're detaching when you come into the spa. It's a sensory experience. You smell the scenting. You get the wellness shot.
I smell it right now. You know that, right?
You do?
Oh no, you
Is it
guys! Every
us?
time I'm like, oh my,
So
see,
funny.
and that's how
I love
you know. Yeah, like I smell the spa right now, And I love the smell. Like I'm like,
So we want you to focus on that. We want to focus on the aesthetics. We want to focus on the smell. We want to focus on the touch. We want to focus on the
so all
speech.
5 senses.
All of them are
Makes
incorporated.
You have to, and that's how the smoothie bar came about, because we wanted to give smoothies, and all of our smoothies are organic smoothies.
Shout out to higher power. That's what I drink every time.
There's no chemicals, no sugars, no preservatives, no dyes, nothing. Even all of our products, we were
very clean.
We looked for products for probably a solid year until we
tie
picked.
that into home care and hospice. How do you want to tie that into it?
So, okay, in home care and hospice, it's not only how you feel mentally, but it's also what you're eating. It's
what
also
you're
what
putting
you're
on
putting
your
on your
skin.
body.
Yes.
You
People don't know
can't-
this is the biggest organ, and that's why we might have anxiety and depression.
100%. Like even the perfume. I get it. You can't live in a bubble, but
just to even say, and I'm not knocking the FDA, but in Europe, you cannot find half of the products that are allowed here in the U.S. In Europe. They're not allowed. They're illegal. You cannot put certain ingredients.
Right.
So part of what we decided to do is become as natural as we can, given the parameters that we have. But we've sourced product lines that are so clean, so pure, so natural that they're actually good for you.
Right.
All of the massage oils, all the facial products, all the skincare that we use, all organic.
Ours is like plant-based
All
for our skin, for the face. Literally everything in there is plant-based.
Botanical.
There's no preservatives, dyes, perfumes, nothing. No chemicals. So I think people need to understand that when we did all these things, even the perfumes, we have like the pheromones.
Yeah.
So
I have one.
Our
Riddle oil.
Riddle oil.
The X.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I
Even
love the
like
X.
our
so good.
candles that we sell are like soy or beeswax. Like we tried very hard.
And they're all locally sourced, by
yes,
the way.
we always try to
give back
bring
to the
different
community.
businesses together, and everything we have, from our sunscreens to everything, is as clean as we can find in the market, and we're proud to sell those products because we want to make sure that people leave not only feeling good, but what they apply at home makes a difference as well. Yeah. And that's another thing that we're going to be educating clients is like, okay, you can't live in a bubble. You're going to go order a pizza. You're going to wear this
not
perfume.
about perfection.
Even the clothes
it's about
that
moderation.
you wear.
Right.
Yeah,
it's
not
just
about to
perfection.
be more aware of what you do, and little changes you do throughout the day make an effect on you.
Yeah,
every
just
day.
one thing. Like that's one thing I do with my clients who come in really in a hard place. It's just like, I'm not asking for you to do 1,000 things.
Yeah. Just
let's pick one. And when it becomes the habit and you don't even realize you're doing it, like the lemon water in the morning. What? I'm like, yeah, you're going to wake up and drink lemon water. You're my therapist. I'm like, I'm a holistic therapist. And you hired me because of that. And so,
but it's all the small wins that add up over time.
Atomic habits.
That's
Make your bed in the morning. Like something simple. And you realize that like you don't get overwhelmed in the day if you just do one thing at a time.
And then we celebrate. And that's what we do. We celebrate every single time they were able to actually take the shower if they're depressed or they're so anxious that I did 2 minutes of breath work. You're so proud of me. I'm like, you need to be proud of you. It's not about me. You're hiring me to do a service.
Do you feel like some of your clients ask for your permission to do certain things?
Yes.
I felt like when I was, I give you permission.
Yes.
You can do this.
It's because when they come with people pleasing and fawning and trauma and stuff like that, they don't know. They just don't know. Like, and so when you give them the permission, because they never had the permission, they were either sucked dry by whoever was the people around them that caused the trauma, and they did not. That's all they thought they were worthy of. That's why I'm like, it's not about perfection at all. Because we all fall short of the glory of God. I'd say that all the time. We all fall short. We're human beings. It's just, what are we going to do today? Because that's all we have is today.
Absolutely.
100%.
Only today.
And I'll tell you that's true through the business we were in before. Hospice, it doesn't discriminate, right?
No.
Cancer doesn't discriminate. Cancer doesn't. I mean, we had, and the other thing I want to discuss, sorry, my brain is just a mile a minute. Part of the things we were seeing in hospice and end of life was our patients were getting younger and younger.
Yeah.
So I think and we didn't do pediatric, which is,
we got
different.
contacted a few times and we were like, I can't mentally handle that.
But we did see the adults were getting younger and younger, and they were getting diagnosed with end stage. I mean, at 36,
like in their 40s,
at
like
32,
early.
Skin cancer. I mean, you have to wonder why. If they're living a normal, healthy lifestyle, what's going on?
Right.
So I think it's the product that they put on their body. It's what
so
they're
many
eating.
things.
It's the
right.
I don't
It's
know.
the 5 sentences. This
It's
is what
the
I
products,
say.
It's the the processed foods,
Yes.
you know,
The
I mean, how much
glyphosate on the foods, it is
it's insane.
the
Even
lack
when
of
you buy
nutrition.
organic, are you really getting organic?
What is
you
the
know?
first thing? Well, I don't know if you ever really delved with behavioral disorders and kids who have spectrum disorders. One of the things they tell you right away is you got to cut out the food dye.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
And the sugar. And
the
to me,
sugar.
I'm like, are you taking a probiotic?
And it
Because I worked with teenagers for most of my career. It was just 3 years ago when I opened up Through the Valley Therapy. Yeah, I don't think you know that. And so I was working at night, dealing, having my clients at night, and then dealing at the high school because I worked in alternative high schools my whole career.
Yeah.
And so I saw some stuff, and that was like, I'm like, but yeah, they have ADHD, but you see they're drinking Mountain Dew and having Captain Crunch.
One of my first clients
meals.
I've ever had was a 12-year-old boy that I had to shadow in school to monitor his behaviorals, to see his patterns. They diagnosed him as schizophrenic.
Oh.
At 12.
Yeah.
I was like, I remember I called you and I was like, is that a thing? Like, I thought it's usually in your 30s. Like, and I get every situation is different and people are different, but this poor kid was so heavily medicated.
Yeah.
And I noticed that he was obese. He was a very heavy set boy. Lovely, lovely kid. As soon as his medications would start to wear off and I'd had to walk him to the nurse to make sure he gets his next dose, that 45 minutes of where he wasn't heavily medicated, you could just see the spark coming through his eyes. And he started talking to me and he would be like, normal, but like still be in a place where I'm like, he's overly medicated. And the first thing I did was talk to the mother, and guess what? It wasn't received very well.
I bet.
It was, who do you think you are?
Well, if you don't have a fancy degree, which I kind of do, but I don't.
Well,
like
at the
to
time
say
I
that.
didn't when I was starting off,
Right.
And
but it's an instinct. Like I knew when I understand. It's like, why are 12, 13-year-olds have 5 different orange bottles by their bedside, or not by their bedside, but
the
like
foods he was eating and everything. He had chips for snacks and
people don't listen. I come from the inner city. Like I get it, and the only reason I know these things now is because it was taught to me, and that's the problem. Like we're so focused on, first of all, a lot of these medical schools are, pharmaceutical companies are giving them the information, and like I said, it has its place. Like if I had a car accident and my bones were broken, yes, I want a medical doctor, MD doctor, to help me in the emergency room, and please give me a painkiller because I don't want to die of the pain. Right? And I get it. It's just people don't know that there's another way. People don't understand that there are resources out there because
it's harder.
It's also harder to figure that out, but it's also we trust the people that are more educated. We trust, people come in and they're like, well, you're the expert. I'm like, no, you're the expert on yourself. Right. You're with yourself 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Who would know you the best? Right? Let's figure how to get.
I think the problem is also that as a society, we want instant gratification.
Yes.
People want the quick fix. How do I quickly lose weight? How do I quickly get smarter? How do I quickly do this? Like, there is no healthy way of doing anything quickly. Anything that matters takes time. Same thing with the holistic approach. Will it heal you instantly? No, but it takes time. And
but it took you time to get to that point. So it's going to take that much just to alleviate your pain.
Even something as simple as gut health. That was really a big thing for me when I experienced my own. What did my doctor say? Oh, you have some forming ulcers. Here's Nexium. Here's this. And, bye. And I did in the beginning. I was in my early 20s, and I was like, "Okay, great."
But you trust this older person that has the knowledge.
In time, you realize, well, what is that medication doing to me otherwise? And then you research it, and you say, "Okay, if I change my diet, if I'm more aware of my sensitivities or this and that, and what is gut health, and it's a slow process, and it does become more of a routine,
and
it's a lifestyle change.
It is, and it's harder.
That's why I never say diet. I'm like, it's a lifestyle
change.
It
is a lifestyle change, and it is harder to do, but then to take that quick medication. But in the end, it makes the best. You have to always revert back to everything. Where did all medications come from? They came from plants. So in the end, you go back and you figure out a healthier way.
The more closer, to me, it's like the more closer. Wait, no, how's Dr. Hyman say? If it's a plant, like created, and it's an original plant, eat it. But if it was made in a plant, stay away from it. Like stay away from it. Like when I first found out about the middle of the grocery store, I never knew that until Dr. Bernstein taught me. It's like, don't ever shop, just shop the edges of the grocery. I'm like, what? He's like, think about what's on the edges of the grocery store. And he made me think, critical thinking. And I'm like, okay, fruits, vegetables, dairy, butter. He's like, yeah, that's where you shop. Stay away from the middle.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Oh my gosh, that doesn't make sense. It's all the high processed, high fructose corn syrup, ultra processed, the sodas, the frozen foods of like pizzas and stuff like that. And listen, even if you eat like that, like, okay, fine. If you start feeling crappy, then take one thing and substitute.
Substitute it.
Right? It's not about like, I'm not trying to guilt and shame anyone, because that's the last thing that I ever want to do to any human being as a therapist is to guilt, but I want them to have responsibility and understanding.
Just to be aware.
Or in education. I think also a lot of times folks don't know, and again, this is going back to our previous business, it's insurance drives your therapy, unfortunately, in a lot of cases, most cases.
Yes.
And if your doctor is, I don't want to say it, but if he's getting some sort of reward for prescribing X medication, he's going to continue to prescribe X medication.
Right. Or he doesn't know because they did not take, 2 days of nutrition, or not 2 days, but like, credits after credits of nutrition. Yeah. They have like 4 hours or something, and then everything else is focused on other things. It's like food is medicine. 100%. Right? And health is wealth.
That's it. We say that all the time.
So anyway, ladies, we're starting to close out the.
That went really quick.
I know. We have a few minutes
all day.
I know. Like seriously, when we get into things, it's like, wow, this is awesome. What would you like to say to the audience as we're closing? Like any advice to mental health professionals or people that are, like a little wary about all this is woo-woo stuff? Like what would you like to say to the audience?
As a mental health provider, I know everything about burnout is true. So take the moment and take that healing time for yourself. We as therapists, we give so much of our soul to the client. We do this selflessly. We don't get anything out of it, right? Like physically, right? But it also drains you at some point, and you need to recharge. And the way you do that is by providing self-care or going to another therapist. But for me, my therapy is disconnecting.
Yes.
Putting the life on hold and just taking care of me, whether it's a circuit, whether it's a facial, whether it's a massage. That's the way that I heal. But that's me. Yeah. Take a walk. I'll do.
I think I do every single thing you say plus more.
Well, there's so much
I think it's important
to try to stay sane in this world.
You carry a lot of that heavy with you.
Yeah.
And it's hard to separate. They say don't get personal.
Right.
But
detach.
you can't.
I'm a human.
But you're a person. You're going to care. And that's why you're in the industry.
Right.
But you carry that sometimes with you, especially when you hear things you wish you didn't hear. And it's hard because you think about it and you think about it and you think about it. And I wish I could have helped this person sooner. I wish they didn't have to go through that. But, unfortunately, life can be very ugly. But at the same time, life can be very beautiful. And that's why there's people like you who do what they do.
Thank you.
And you guys need to really make sure to put yourselves first as well, because you won't be any help to those that you're helping if you are not taking care of yourself and your mental health.
And that's why I think my faith is the most important. That's why I pray for my clients before they come online, and when they leave, I pray again. I'm serious. Like
Amen.
This is how I stay sane, like I said, because it's my main focus is to me, and my belief is the cross. Like I have to let that go, and that's where I let it go at. I'm like, this is yours, please take it. And then I do every single thing I possibly can that's healthy for me, because I used to drink alcohol and do drugs and not take care of myself. And I had a lot of battles with that. And now, being my age, menopause is hitting. I hope you guys do something for that. Like
we're looking into it. There's
a
lot of interesting. There's a lot of interesting modalities,
but a holistic approach to it, because I know my doctors wanted to put a pill in my back and do all these other things, and I'm like, oh. And my mom and my grandma, like they don't come from this country, and they're like, there's better ways, And so it's like, okay, like and what am I scared of? Because that's another thing in this culture, we don't want to feel pain. or
That's
sadness or anger.
That's
Yep.
it.
And the thing is, it's like, oh no, I'm going to sit with it at times. Well, you don't have to. I'm like, no, but listen.
How do you work through it?
You
if
have to
don't?
learn to cope with
Exactly.
emotions, not numb them out.
Yes. Amen.
You know,
Amen.
like it's
Amen. You need to cope
life
with
is
it.
meant to be felt every which way.
That's
If we
right.
didn't have bad emotions, we wouldn't appreciate the good ones.
Exactly.
You have to have a healthy balance in
Yeah,
life.
exactly. Exactly. All right, ladies, where can people find you?
We are on
1680 Southeast 3rd Court in Deerfield Beach inside the Cove Shopping Plaza.
You can find us online, www.5elementsspa.com. 5 is spelled out. And our Instagram is the number 5_elements_spa. And you can get more information also calling our center at 954-531-0070.
All right, ladies, thank you so much for being on
thank
this
you.
show.
This
Diana,
was so
thank you for
fun.
having us. This was
We love
incredible.
you.
I
This
love
was
it. I know.
awesome.
I love you guys too so much.
So
Thank you
sweet.
so much for just going at it and opening that place up, especially by me.
And hopefully we can create a group for therapists to
I
come
Yes.
to
would
somewhere.
love
We
that.
could
We could
do
do
something.
that.
Okay, we'll
We
talk
could
after.
work together, figure out like a way
Yeah.
to.
No, because we
help the
need
community
it.
in that.
We do. We need something like this, and we'll have this conversation after we're off there. So, listeners, thank you for listening, and I hope you got something really great. And please go self-care. It's not selfish. And remember, trust in the Lord, guard your heart, and renew your mind. Bye. And now for the disclaimer to make sure you understand that you are responsible for you. The content provided on the Holistic Counselor podcast is for entertainment and informational purposes only and is not intended as a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified mental health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical or mental condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. The views expressed on this podcast are my personal opinions and do not represent the views of any professional organizations with which I am affiliated. Call your doctor, 911, or 988 immediately if you have a medical emergency. The Holistic Counselor podcast does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, physicians, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned on the podcast. Reliance on any information provided by the Holistic Counselor podcast, guests appearing on the podcast at the invitation of the Holistic Counselor podcast, or other listeners to the podcast is solely at your own risk. Confidentiality notice. If you engage with the Holistic Counselor podcast by commenting or posting and are a client, please be aware that you may be revealing information that could compromise your confidentiality. Please remember that disclosing your identity or personal details can be linked to your clinical material. As a therapist, I am bound by confidentiality and will not respond to any disclosures of this type on this podcast. I am committed to upholding the ethics and confidentiality of the therapeutic relationship, which extends to all forms of communication in accordance with the laws and professional guidelines that govern mental health professionals. I want you to know that your privacy is of utmost importance, and you are responsible for protecting it when interacting on this platform or any other public forum. Thank you.